Hello, everyone. Welcome to our new event. So I hope we are online already, and I don't know, please put something in chat that you can hear me correctly, but I hope everything is fine. Yeah, so today's topic, it will be Android Studio, new latest release, upcoming release, let's say. Oh, yeah. Thank you guys. I see you as well. Yeah, Android Studio, Flamingo, and Giraffe, new animals in the Google Zoo. Yeah, so let's invite our speaker, Volodya Chernenky, who will, I hope, share with us something, some UI from this studios. Hi, Volodya. Please, yeah. Please introduce yourself as usual.
Sure. Hi, guys. Hello, everyone. Hopefully, you can hear me well. So, yeah, as our host Volodya mentioned, my name is Volodya Chernenky. I'm a lead Android engineer, engineering manager in EPAM. And I am a fan of all beta versions, alpha versions of the software whenever it is possible, including the Android Studio. And actually, that's why I would like to share with you the features that we gonna use quite soon, everyone in the release versions, hopefully. So yeah.
Don't you think that Google already had this pattern to name something with like
With
Android?
first characters,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was for Android version, obviously, yeah, and they already ended, or maybe not yet ended. So Android 14, do you know what is the name of Android 14?
To
But
be honest, no, I stopped
it
checking
should be
the name
yeah, upside down cake. Yeah, so
upside
they
down.
almost at
Okay.
the end of the English alphabets. And seems this story will wait the Android Studio release as well, maybe in a couple of years. Yeah, but for now, yeah, Flamingo and Giraffe. Let's start and adding your presentation. So yeah, I
Okay,
will be
great.
around. Okay, good luck.
Perfect. Yeah, guys, everyone who's joined, like it's like 19 people already. Great. So please put your questions, comments, anything that you might have regarding the Android Studio or the presentation in chat. During the end, we will have some time to talk about all those comments. So yeah, as well you mentioned in the beginning, Android Studio also uses like a naming convention with the alphabet. So it started like in 2021 in July with Arctic Fox, with great set of features. Then Bumblebee, Chipmunk, then Dolphin, which to be honest I still have installed. Then Electric Eel, and Flamingo, which hopefully will be released soon. And Volodya was able to find some spoilers that the image might look like this, and estimated the release to be May. And the last but not least, which is already available is Giraffe. Still not sure when it will be released, but taking into account the cadence of like half a year between releases, it might be closer to the end of the year in the release phase. But we will still check the features that both Flamingo and Giraffe will have. And yeah, a glimpse into the future. ChatGPT shows the next 10 names with letter H. So one of these animals might be used for upcoming versions. Okay, great. So The preview versions. Everyone interested can download the preview version from the official website. It's not closed beta or anything like that. So close to the release version, there is a tab to install the preview one. To be honest, I was using Android Studio since the very first alpha version, even before the release. So yeah, that's kind of my background with alpha versions or canary versions. As of right now, the Flamingo, which will be the next one, is in the RC1 state. When we started to work on this presentation, it was still in beta, but yeah, right now it's already RC1. It's kind of 2 weeks difference. So there is a work in progress on both of them. And same with Canary build. I guess yesterday, Canary 11 was released. No big changes there, but still bug fixes are very welcomed. And yeah, like during the last, or since the last month, it was like 5 versions released with different bug fixes and improvements. So let's take a look into the features, the exact features that are present in those versions. And the main one, actually, why the idea of this presentation appeared is the new UI. The new UI is actually the IntelliJ IDEA thing, but it's something that the IDE will be moving towards in the next year, 2 years, I would say. And from my side, it's a good idea to check it going. And that's why all the examples will be in the scope of this new UI. Let me briefly share the Android Studio. So hopefully you can see it. So yeah, this is Android Studio on the 13-inch laptop. So maybe a bit tight with space. But yeah, as you can see, the new theme, it can be enabled in the settings. And if we open, it's like new UI, open UI, something UI, settings. Oh, I forgot where it is actually. New UI, let's try, yeah. As you can see, this is a Canary version, but the new UI is in beta version from the IntelliJ IDEA side. So as soon as you hit check mark here and apply it, you will get the next result. As you can see, much less clutter on the screen. The idea behind this UI, according to the official statements, is to simplify it as much as possible. To me, it seems kind of like VS Code, but still, as you can see, much less text, only buttons, icons, and that's it. Still, everything is configurable. Yeah, briefly, on the left side, we still have the project view. All other items can be found in the dropdown. Icons could be moved from each corner to each corner. So let's say if I want to move the app inspection from the bottom left, I can move it to top to bottom right. So as you can see, everything is configurable. Also, it's possible to hide those, so they would not bother you if you are like true minimalist. Move to right, left bottom. Yeah, great. Also, the recent change is they've added make module button, so it actually will build the current module that you have the source code opened. Initially, there was no attach debugger button, so I had to add it manually to it. As you can see, there is new UI to launch builds. Also important to know that this toolbar is customizable. You can add anything you would like to by adding action, and there are plenty of them, so you can search for what you are missing. Yeah, the other changes we will look into a bit later. So the next changes. Next changes with the new Android Studio and with a new Compose version, actually 1.4.0, is revamped Compose animation preview. I don't have a live sample, but still, basically the difference from the old one is that you can not only play the animation, but also edit it and adjust the different durations, maybe add some additional blocks. So it's much more advanced now. The next one, let's talk about few features in the Android Studio Giraffe specifically. So the first one is device mirroring is officially released. So it's the feature that allows you to basically have the device connected, so it's not wireless, but you can have it somewhere on your desk. That doesn't really mean where, and have the UI in the studio. This should be enabled. It was introduced previously in the older Android studios, but it was in preview and now it's officially released. So you can start using it without much issues. The next one is updated device file explorer. Actually, now it's called Device Explorer. So previously, Device File Explorer was used to navigate the files, the system, download files, upload files whenever. And now they also added the processes into it. So you can check all the processes run in the system. The interesting point that on the newer versions of Android, like Android 13, you can see all the system processes, but if you switch to, let's say, Android 10, there will be only applications that you have installed and their processes. Another interesting point that based on the official, let's say, press release, the attach to debugger button is intended to be here, right? I do like it here in the toolbar as using it quite often, but still, that's one of the points why they added processes here. And another interesting one, it's new Android SDK upgrade assistant. As you may know, we do have Gradle upgrade assistant, but this one, and it's kind of automated, but this one, it's Android SDK upgrade assistant. You can find it in the tools menu, and then it will appear in your sidebar. So basically what it doing is describing what changes were in the specific version, so you can easier increase the target SDK version. It's not automated by any means like the Gradle plugin, but still, let's say I want to increase to 8.1. Great, because right now the version is 8. It mentions you can safely increase 8.1 because no significant changes were done. Okay, great. We increased synced project. Now we have Android 9. So in the Android 9, there were some changes to the C Linux domains and maybe something else. We can ensure that, but then we save to increase the value. Bigger versions provide a bit more context with the links out of the Android Studio, so you can read more about each of them. I would say it's not only about the upgrading of the target SDK, but about just checking those, because from my side, for example, I haven't heard about the multi-resume support with Android 10 release, but then I just opened this view and read a bit about it, so now I know something else that were introduced in the newer version. Later it's in the side menu, so you can collapse it. Everything is fine. Also, interesting point about this Windows. Not sure, actually, I haven't tried in the released version or in the older UI, but different plugins, because each of this tab is a separate plugin of IDE, behaves a bit differently with small sizes. As you can see, this one just hides the text, but some, let's say, trying to do at least some adjustments. So maybe this will be fixed in the future, so text will be scaled or wrapped accordingly, but yeah, that's how it is right now. Okay, next, let's move back to the presentation. It's dynamic colors introduced with the last, if I'm not mistaken, Android version. So basically, if you haven't heard, the UI can adjust itself, or system can help to adjust your UI colors based on the wallpaper the user has selected. And the changes here is that Android Studio now allows you to simulate those scenarios. So there are like both cases for the XMLs and Compose. For XMLs, you can change the colors like in this top menu, so it will be adjusted. And in the Compose, there is a new property in the preview annotation, so this can be changed there as well. Okay, that's all we're talking about Giraffe right now. So still in Canary. Now, next, another features that kind of show how the IDE and the development in general moves. So the first one is that Compose is now officially used as a in the template for the new projects, right? That's quite a significant change, because as you can see, this purple one is in Compose, those green are in with XMLs. So it's kind of important from my side, because it shows that Google will shift more and more into the Compose area. So we all should learn it. Okay, yeah, actually, that's the project that it generates. We will talk about some details here also today. Yeah, great. Next one is traffic interception. So this is something new. So I built the sample app. You can ignore the code. It's not the best one, but still, there is a button that just runs the HTTP request. And right now, if it not crash, it just prints in the toast, shows the body of the HTML page, right? And user clicks it, it shows the toast. So in the app inspection section, as you may know, there is a network inspector that was introduced some time ago. So here, you can basically see the request that being done in the app, right? And there is a list. But what's new here is that they've added rules, so you can actually override those requests, because previously we had to use either Charles or Fiddler, and with the newer versions, you need to install some sorts due to security. So now it's kind of handy tool to have. And let's just try. So I have one rule created already. What it does, it just has a name, just to be descriptive. You should define the protocol and the host URL. That's the minimum you should do. Actually, it's like, if we talk about like this, if you'll see it like this, it will be predefined. But yeah, Ktor, because it loads the Ktor IO link somewhere here. Yeah. You can specify port if needed, the path, query, and the method. Right now supported only get and post, but I'm pretty sure that the list will be extended with the time. The response code could be overridden, but to be honest, from my side, and with Ktor example, it was not working for some reason. I've tried to change 200 to 403, but unsuccessfully. Ktor still returned me that it's successful, but still, this could be fixed quite soon and easy. Then there is the possibility to adjust the header rules. Let's just example, you can add a new header if needed, or you can update some existing headers to override the values, including the regex option if needed. Then the rule that I've actually used, or the option I have, because obviously you can use all of them, is to replace the body or change it somehow. So I choose this checkbox to replace everything with, instead of the original HTML body, please replace me just to replace body too, right? And as you can see, okay, now it's disabled, quite a lot of text, but let me enable it. As simple as it is, hit do request, and voila, you can see that the response body was changed. So I would say it's quite useful tool, as we all have applications that are doing some network requests, working with either REST API, GraphQL, or something else. So yeah, might be useful. Obviously, for much more advanced scenarios, you would need to use much more advanced tool, but still nice to see it here. So there's no need to hassle with the Charles. Yeah, the next one. So there was example in my case, actually that if I will use replace body without two, please crash. Let's imagine that it's just a human mistake somewhere. The crash icon was introduced quite some time ago with older versions. So what it is actually, if you logged in with your Android, or sorry, not Android, Google account, which has access to the Firebase into Android Studio, yes, that's possible if you didn't know about that. You will be able to, and you invited to the Firebase project, obviously. Android Studio will show you the crashes based on the stack traces that were received in the Firebase Crashlytics, right? So it's not the new thing, but yeah, you can click it, open the error itself. But what changed? So if you open the app quality insights, if it's not visible, it could be under 3 buttons, or if you have just tabs, like context menu, double click, or 2 buttons click and open it. Here you can see the crashes that appeared. So what changed actually? Yeah. So they've added filters, first of all, so you can easier filter the issues out. Obviously, you can still use the web Firebase Crashlytics, right? But it's kind of handy to have it inside. Also, another point is that they've added close button, so you can close or undo close or close reopen from the Android Studio itself. Kind of handy if you're pretty sure that you know that this will be fixed by your changes. You can close it, and if it reappear in the future versions, it will be just populated again. So that would be useful for all of you who are using the Crashlytics, and I'm pretty sure the numbers are quite high. Great. Next is compose tracing. The view itself kind of similar to the memory analyzer that is also available in the profiler. So the difference is that it logs all the recompositions and yeah, how long they take of your compose UI, and then you can review where exactly the issue is. Maybe you will spot that something triggered much more often than you would expect, but still it's useful to have if you need to check the performance of the app. Actually, that was in the Flamingo version, and a few other changes. Sorry, I missed that. But compose templates and the dynamic colors were introduced or added in the Flamingo, which is in RC1, just a reminder. So that's great news if you will be interested to see where to play with those features, but still hesitate to use not the released version. Okay, actually, Android Studio is not only about the IDE, right? But also about the Android Gradle plugin. So as you know, Android's so if you update the Gradle plugin, there is a minimum version of the Android Studio that is supported with that plugin. And important to know that with the Flamingo and Giraffe, there will be 8.0 and 8.1 versions of the Gradle, and in both cases, it increases the GDK, required GDK, to 17. That also means that GDK 17 is bundled with the Android Studio, and it's required to run the projects. This can be checked. So if you go to the settings, okay, Java or Gradle, let me find it quickly. Where it is? Not here. It has to be in the compiler section. Build Gradle here. Great. Yeah, so Java 17 is bundled with the Android Studio. But yeah, ensure that you have the correct one to be used with your project and your project Gradle plugin. Right, it's not mandatory to update the Gradle with using the newer IDE version, right? But still, it's something to remember if you're interested in using the newer versions. Okay, next, it's something related to the update of the GVM and JDK. Is if you have the custom Android linked rules, you would need to ensure that they're working fine. Yeah, because it uses different Java version under the hood, so it compiles and works perfectly fine. Another change that comes with the newer Gradle plugin is that Gradle Version Catalogs are officially supported. So it was in the preview version. I know a lot of projects are using it already. So it was definitely still in preview in 7.3 version. Now the electric eel requires 7.4.1. There it can be used, but now we have a bit more integration with the STOML files. Let me show you some example. So yeah, the file itself, if you don't have it, you can start using it, is in the Gradle folder. actually new projects, according to this new template, will also use this file by default. As you can see, this is almost default version and set of libraries that it has. I've just added Dector, increased few versions, and that's it. So yeah, what you can do here is to increase the version numbers directly from this view. So let's say I want to increase the compose to not maybe the latest version. Let's try 2.4.0 if it exists. Let's try to download it. Will it? To be honest, I don't know if it exists, but still. Yeah, if it will success, great. If not, we can move on. So yeah, it allows to define the versions instead of the approach that was used before to have like separate Gradle file or create the object file if it uses the Kotlin DSL. So yeah, it seems like downloaded. So great. You can define the versions, plugins also, and the bundles just to scope all the libraries needed under the one name, and then use it in the build Gradle file in the like either implementation or other dependency handlers. There are a few issues officially mentioned in the website, and they actually related not with Android Studio but with the Gradle plugin itself. And as you can see, there are like few red lines here. So if plugins are used with this approach, with alias and the name of this plugin, then it will work perfectly fine. But it will be highlighted that it can be called in this context by implicit receiver, right? But still, it will work. That works perfectly fine. Another change together of plugin and Android Studio is in the project structure, where you can actually see other or all your dependencies in maybe nicer view. Not sure if somebody likes it, but still it is here. So basically you can change versions from here, and it will be represented in this TOML file. The two caveats here is that same as with the older approach, if you will set some version here, it will not use, let me just do this side by side. It will not update the version in the versions section, but will set version in the libraries section, right? That's not the nicest one, but they're working on that to incorporate like smart adjustments. Another point that is not working as of right now, at least in Canary 11, is adding new dependencies. So if dependency will be added, it will still add it as the as usual here is the implementation and the dependency over here, let's say, right? Let's say 2.0 version. Great. That's about the version catalog. Then let's talk a bit about also Android versions. Like Android features, right? So in the Android 13, Google introduced per app language support. So user can basically officially select whenever language is supported by your app in some view, right? And together with the 2.10 alpha 07 plugin, it introduces automatic support for language or app language, right? That's basically done solely based on the resources that you have in your application and dependencies, which is important. Which is kind of important. So yeah, it generates all the needed files under the hood, and you're pretty much fine. The only problem here, maybe not a problem, but still, is that in the end, this will be supported only since Android 13 and obviously on the newer versions. So if you would need to support older versions, you would still need to use the same approach as it was used with the official API, the language picker, and so on. So not really the benefit that we all will be able to enjoy really soon, but hopefully it's something that we've seen maybe, I don't know, 5 years, let's say, we all will have this as a minimum version, Android 13, and we'll be happy. Or some version will be not backwards compatible, and we will have to shift to the newer, to the only single version. Okay. Anyways, then a bit unique to some extent feature. I'm not really sure who will use it. If some of you are using it, let me know. But it's basically connection with the Firebase Test Lab devices with Gradle Managed Devices. So Gradle Managed Devices were introduced some time ago. So basically, it allows you to define the specific devices or device properties, hardware, and Android version, obviously, on which your automated tests or instrumented tests will run, right? But we don't all have the leisure of device farms, or maybe it's not profitable to have one. In that case, for example, we have the Firebase Test Lab that allows us for some cash to use different devices, right? So it allows to connect your Firebase Test Lab with your project and run those tests on the remote devices, even if you run the tests locally. There is a huge list of commands that you need to do to run in order to make it work, right? But still, if you do have some advanced testing approach on your project, this is something useful, right? Then interesting point, not sure how useful it is, but it's new plugin from Android, guys. It's called Settings. So what it's doing? It basically allows to define the compile SDK, minimum SDK only in your like settings to Gradle, or the main one, the root one, and all your child sub modules, or basically sub modules, will use this version, right? This already is possible to achieve with the Kotlin DSL, right? And this complementary plugins that is possible to do on your own, but this is out of the box and kind of, I would say, useful in case if you have a lot of projects or you have a base Gradle file that applied to other sub-projects. The interesting point here is that it supports only Groovy right now. Even the new template of the project uses the Kotlin version, the KTS files, right? So I'm not sure who will use it in the end. Maybe they will deprecate it, but they released it in this specific update. So I will mention it here. The thing that is kind of interesting, it also should be treated together with the Gradle plugin, obviously here, is the feature that was introduced in the Android 14 Developer Preview 1 is grammatical inflection API. So what actually it is it's new qualifiers, actually 3 of them, as you can see, that allow us to specify, as it mentioned, inflection, right? The flavor of the strings to correspond to specific feminine, right? Gender, or not gender, sorry. But yeah, it's possible to define specific unique strings per gender, I would say like that. In this particular example, it shows French because the language allows to have it. The important part that they're stressing out on is that those strings files should contain only those unique strings, and there's no need to put everything as we're doing for languages. Otherwise, it will fall back to the English, right? So here we have French, and it's like extension to the French language. So I see as it's useful. The world changes, and the software should change as well. And actually, the last one, it's build analyzer update. Let me try to show some example here. Did not run. Okay, let me try to run it. Will it have it now? Okay, it has everything cached. What a smart machine. Okay, now it will execute the task, take some time. We do have a few seconds, great. Build analyzer, tasks, yeah. So the build analyzer itself is not a new feature. It is present in all the previous released, or the currently released version at least. But the change actually is that, as you can see, they've added groups, right? This also requires the Gradle plugin, which is interesting, and not the actual Android Studio, but yeah. So it actually allows to group the tasks by category. Obviously, you can fall back to the previous behavior. So the current release versions display it like that. All your tasks, how much time they take, and some visual representation, like with the chunks, right, with a stack of blocks. But with the task category, you can get a bit more verbose understanding, I would say, to what takes time. So here, let's say you can still expand it, but it's much more user-friendly if you are not know all the tasks, and you don't need to associate them with the names and so on. So yeah, minor also, it has different colors, which is also useful for some perception, because as you can see now, grouping almost everything is in blue, because it's Android, Java, Kotlin, everything basically, right? And here there's plugins. Not sure if plugins were available, but yeah, tasks, it's definitely something that was added. Yeah, that's okay. That's actually it. Cheers to the future. I will drink a bit. So in this corner, you can see the QR code to the slides if you would like to share uh, this deck with somebody. Also, you can share the video, obviously. But yeah, do we have any questions, Volodya? Anything?
Yeah,
Maybe
let's
from your
check.
side?
I would say we have a bunch of some comments during your
Okay, great.
presentation. At least, yeah. So some, if let me check. Do we have any question? Uh, some comments about
Return.
feminine strings has
Yeah,
2 GB, if I'm not mistaken. Okay,
that's
let's
something
start
interesting.
from
Yeah,
comment from my side. I think
yeah,
my question will be pretty easy. Like, so you just switch it to the new UI. As I
yeah.
understand, uh, how much time ago? It's months
Uh,
already or weeks?
so yeah, so as soon as I installed the Canary and heard that there is a new UI,
Okay, can you
enabled
just
it. So it's a month. Yeah,
okay. So can you just give us the best feature ever for from new UI which you like the most? Yeah, it's a good idea to share the UI itself. And which one?
uh,
Please tell us.
uh,
I don't
yeah,
believe it will
that's
be
really a good.
network interceptor.
No, no, actually,
Anyway,
let's
it's a good
let's do
feature.
this
Yeah.
way.
It's a old.
So
Yeah.
first of all, I have the old one installed. Okay, I'm not. Okay, let's use it this way. Here you have the old UI, right? Uh, it's not bad, right? We all used it for how many?
Great.
8 years, right? And somebody will use it even longer, right? So no issues here. But so I would say, as you can see here with the new UI, the idea, as I mentioned, was to increase the focus on the important part, right, and functions
The
that you
green
need to
button
do.
run.
Yeah, the green button, it's self-descriptive what it should do. The red button that it will stop the app, right?
Okay.
Uh, and
I
actually,
thought
the red
people
button was
use
also used.
shortcuts for this, but anyway,
Sorry, I'm not using shortcuts for running the app. For running the app, because the friend of mine not so long ago had a situation when his keyboard just lagged and he started like hundreds of builds. Yeah, but still, about the UI, it's much more simpler. I know that in the Druid Studio you can enable presentation mode. But to me, it's not usable anymore in such case. I don't know all the shortcuts to open the things that important to me. Uh, yeah, and I do like this blue flavor. At first, I didn't like the new icons,
so
but
the
now
icons
I'm
is the same. I
actually
know
they've
this.
changed. They've changed the icons because originally they were like with some neon kind of flavor to it.
Can,
So they
can you tell me
glowed a
where is
bit.
Lockcat?
Oh yeah, Lockcat is
Oh,
here.
they
It's
have
you see this cat.
the cat. Finally,
Yeah,
finally,
yeah.
Lockcat
It's
is back.
descriptive.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can still like hover over and it will show you the label, right?
This
Or
diamond
here
show
you
you
will see the
how many money your app will
of
will give you
the
soon.
quality. The
Okay.
quality is priceless.
Okay, Volodya, we have a question actually. So let's, yeah,
Yeah,
question from
perfect.
studio. Let's try to show it from Sergey Kamenkovich. Are the issues with
Yeah.
XML preview fixed in latest version? Volodya use compose maybe, not XML.
Actually, on the project. We're still using the XML. So I'm not really sure what issue we're talking about right now. Mhm. Yeah, if it's possible to clarify a bit more, that would be useful. Maybe somebody knows as well about some issues.
Okay, let me then rephrase. So what
Okay,
like main
let's
issues
put
we
this
have
way.
for now? It's
So for me, everything is rendering for the XML previews. I
okay.
can't open my actual project right now to show you, but it was working yesterday. I'm pretty sure. So yeah, it's working fine. It's working fine with XMLs without data binding, with view binding, and what else? I don't know. Styles here are used, strings, like
And you are
everything
talking
regular
about Giraffe,
is
right?
used.
Not about Flamingo, right?
Yeah. The new UI is
Yeah,
available only
obviously it's
since
new
the
UI
Giraffe
with
version.
Giraffe.
Yeah,
So what is
and
the main
also actually,
problems,
yeah,
if
the main
if
problems.
we have any? Yeah.
Uh, to be on from my side, at first when I've installed, it was like Canary 3 at that time. So, uh, yeah, I remember I put it in the chat. So, in that time, the studio didn't have this debugger button, which I'm using often. The sync button was not, the Gradle sync button was also not present. There was no drop down for the emulators. There was only like a run and stop button. Even debugger was not present. But I understand that this is in UI and they have to adjust
So you made a feature
the
request or but
UI. Actually, I've logged one issue, but they replied me that, hey, you can customize the toolbar and it will be fine.
Okay, so
Yeah, you can remove
I mean,
everything if
no big
needed.
issue from your side, which can like
Yeah, from my side, not
prevent us
no
from
issues.
trying for production, right?
The the only interesting maybe point, not sure if it's my problem or not, but I can't find it here. But yeah, so Android Studio sometimes suggests to increase your memory heap for it, to take more memory to not lag and to perform.
How
So
many memory do you
all
have
older
on your
versions,
machine?
16 gigs. So the
Come on.
older versions used about like 2 gigs or suggested to use 2 gigs, but this one started to ask about for 3 gigs. Not sure why, but that's the reality. I haven't applied, so it's still working. Sometimes I do have like multiple instances of IDE opened, and it's working. It's working. Yeah.
Okay,
Any other
okay.
questions?
Uh, Seems no other questions in chat. Big people, big amount of people say thank you guys as well.
Okay. Thank
So
you, everyone.
I think, yeah, I think we can finish for today. Obviously, there are always a lot of things we can discuss about Android Studio, and probably we will make some separate talk about like Android Studio tips and tricks, which are not related to some concrete version, but in general,
Mhm.
where we can cover plugins and so on. So as for today, thank you, Volodya. Thanks everyone who joined our event. Please like this video. Please drop the comments on the at the VIA community site, and see you at our next events. Bye bye.
See you. Thank you for joining. Bye.